Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about Season 2, Episode 4 of HBO's House of the Dragon, entitled The Red Dragon and the Gold. This season continues to roll, you guys. Like, another great episode, and I just find myself baffled at how there are so many people who seem like they're down on this season. I've been clear so far. This show airs in ways that Game of Thrones did not. It's not perfect, but this show is telling a more singular story than Game of Thrones was, and it's doing a really great job of telling that story rather than just trying to mimic everything that Game of Thrones did well. This episode finally brought to a head a theme that has been building all season, and some of last season as well, and that's not even simply the idea that Aegon is unfit to be king. It's the idea that he's unfit to be king, and the people who helped make him king are starting to see that and regret it. Now, Otto saw it, and he's already been dismissed. Alicent sees it now, but she's also speaking a lot more directly about it, and she also sees the futility in trying to make things right at this point. Most importantly, and this is what I think drives the final scenes of this episode, Aemond sees it, and I think he may also see himself as a much better suited option for the role of king. Well, there's no think about it. He's explicitly has said it. So rather than kind of running through this thing in chronological order, I wanted to start with the ending, talk about what I think was going on here, and how well I think it worked and why. Hey everybody, I just want to take a small break from this review to talk about the various other ways you can engage with me on other platforms. If you're so inclined, and I understand why you wouldn't, I am an acquired taste, but you can join the Patreon where you can get extra content like retro reviews, where I review old shows and movies to see if they still hold up today, Mike's Musings, where I talk about shows I'm watching that I don't cover on the channel, or Mike's VOD, where you can commission me to watch a show, which I will then review on the channel. And if you want to engage with me and chat with me more directly, I also implore you to join the Discord and follow the Facebook page. I set up channels in the Discord for all of us to discuss the shows I'm reviewing on the channel, and I also drop new videos in there since it's the easiest platform for me to share to from my phone. The Facebook can be really fun because I sort of live comment on shows I'm watching, often while under the influence, I'm not going to lie. And I'll also share news there, both about television and film, and about myself as well. So if you like my content, you want to be more engaged, you think I'm charming, or you simply want to show support, feel free to sign up for the Patreon or join the Discord or Facebook today. Links to all platforms are in every video description. Remember to share all my shit to your respective social media platforms. And now back to this review. So all season, the goal for both Team Green and Team Black is to shore up their alliances and confirm who is in support of Aegon and who is in support of Rhaenyra. The show's done a good job of laying out all of these stakes, including the importance of Harrenhal in all of this. Now, Daemon, he went to Harrenhal at the end of episode 2, and we got a few scenes of him there last week. Criston Cole and Alicent's brother, Lil Gwaine, are supposedly also off to Harrenhal, taking locations and building up their army along the way, while also avoiding getting fricasseed by Baela with the superior fucking eyesight. The show has also done a good job of undermining Aegon up to this point as well. He's been humiliating Aemond all season. He's made a fool of himself in front of the small council. He dismissed Otto and replaced him with the incredibly shitty Criston Cole, who gets even shittier every episode. And he's proven himself to just be a foolish hothead who'll try to insert himself in the battle solely because he feels slighted, like just to prove himself. So the show's done an excellent job of setting up the motivations and execution of what took place at the end of this episode. When it seems like it's finally time for Criston and Gwaine to head to Harrenhal, Criston Cole says they're heading north to a place called Rook's Rest. It's a small castle held by someone on Rhaenyra's council, and I'm not even going to give myself shit for not knowing who this person is because, like, the show is given no attention to either one of their small councils, so I'm not going to either. And again, I don't think that's necessarily a knock on this show. I don't need to intimately know every small council character because, again, the show's not about them. Game of Thrones had a much more wide-ranging I don't want to say focus because saying it's wide-ranging doesn't sound like focus. But like it focused on a lot of different things, whereas this is focused solely on that thing. So I'm not upset about not knowing shit about either small council, but at the end of the day, I don't know shit about either small council. The show's not really trying to tell me much, so I don't feel any kind of way about not knowing who this guy is. But apparently, whoever is the head of Rook's Rest is on Rhaenyra's council. And he's convinced that taking this castle, Criston Cole, is convinced that taking this castle will secure the Green's ground position, despite Rook's Rest being just across the bay from Dragonstone. Meanwhile, in King's Landing, Aemond undermines Aegon in front of the entire small council, laying out his plan to take Rook's Rest rather than Aegon's plan of going to take Harrenhal. And then he also does this in a way that adds some extra embarrassment for Aegon by speaking in High Valyrian in front of the council, using all sorts of big words in High Valyrian. And then Aegon says some shit like, "Me go make war now." That was a great scene. And again, the actor who plays Aemond does an incredible job with just the facial expressions. Because his face in that moment says, like, he knew in that moment that, one, he had won in the sense of, like, that argument or that situation in that moment, but also I think it confirmed for him that what ends up taking place at the end of the episode is the right decision to make. So, and yes, I do believe it was a decision. So Alicent also undermines Aegon by basically telling him to shut the fuck up and let the smart people who put him in power continue to run the kingdom while he does what he needs to be doing, which is nothing. The show has established that these are the circumstances in which Aegon is likely to do something reckless in order to prove himself. We saw him do this earlier in the season, go to hop on a dragon to join a battle recklessly earlier. That might have even been last episode. So when he drunkenly, it seems, hops on a dragon to join the battle at Rook's Rest, not only does this feel like what this character would do, it also makes his behavior feel kind of predictable, like something that could be factored into a plan and manipulated and orchestrated. So what happens? Cole and his army, they arrive at Rook's Rest and the battle begins. Arrows are being rained down on Cole's army. Rhaenys arrives to the battle on Malaise, thinking that it's time for Cole's war to end by introducing a little dragon in order to expedite the process. Rhaenys volunteered to go over there on her own in place of Rhaenyra, who was going to go herself. And we see Aemond kind of like hiding in the woods as Rhaenys. It's too many Rhaenyrs and Rhaenyras and Rhaenyses and Rhaenys. But we see Aemond hiding in the woods as Rhaenys arrives. And he's on Vhagar. And Cole openly wonders where Aemond is. Like, where's Aemond? Which I think is meant to inform the viewer in that moment that Cole and Aemond anticipated someone coming over from Dragonstone on Dragonback, and that Aemond would then surprise that person on Vhagar and take them out. But Aemond, he doesn't move. He stays there, and I think that's because Aemond had his own plan. This whole time, and when I say this whole time, I mean the entirety of the show, this whole time he's been eating shit from Aegon, saying nothing when he's clearly the alpha in this family. And he has to sit idly by and watch Aegon just be a shitty king, knowing that he's much better suited for the role. So when Aegon predictably arrives in a way that looks like it was orchestrated by Aemond, motivated by being undermined and doubted by everyone, again, partially orchestrated by Aemond, it's only then that Aemond rises on Vhagar and, I believe, intentionally and not as collateral damage of war, takes out Aegon. Now, I haven't given nearly as much thought to like the line of succession on this show versus what I did with Game of Thrones, also because I know the history enough to know how complicated the Targaryen line is and how long it lasted. There's no point in trying to memorize that. It's like trying to, I was going to say it's like trying to memorize the English monarchs, but I'm actively trying to do that. So I can't make it sound impossible. But because of that, I haven't focused too much on the line of succession here. I'm like, I'll just let the show just I'll just roll with what they're rolling out. But this feels like not only Aemond exacting revenge on Aegon for being a piece of shit as a brother, but also to position himself to possibly move in and become king. Aegon's only son, headless. What better option for a replacement does Team Green have than Aemond, who is Viserys' oldest living son, and also directly responsible for the deaths of both Lucerys and now Rhaenys? Furthermore, if Cole thought there was one plan and Aemond had another, that makes Cole a pawn in Aemond's plan. I just, as the former hand of the king, and again, this is all assuming Aegon dies, which he very well may not. But how's Cole going to handle that? Because he's going to be in line for a pretty big demotion unless Aemond takes the crown and then also keeps Cole as hand of the king, but I doubt that. So why did this ending sequence work so well? Because the show did the work to set it up. It's been building on a rift between Aemond and Aegon since season 1. Remember the fucking, the pig dressed like a dragon? Or, the pink dread? Yeah, I didn't think I was going to remember that. The pink dread. They've been fucking with this guy since season 1. This show has been undermining Aegon's ability to be a good king all of this season and some of season 1. And it even set up the idea that Aegon is easily manipulated and thus predictable. But even now, we're still not done with all the work that this show has done to get us into this position. Aegon doesn't even necessarily have to die for this to work. Even if he lives, Aemond still has plausible deniability on attacking him and can claim direct responsibility for taking out Rhaenys and Melays. So he still has that in his back pocket. And then if Aegon dies, they've also set up another potential claimant for the throne, Daemon. And again, another theme this season has been pushing Daemon's burning desire to be king and feeling spurned by his brother and choosing Rhaenyra over him. They have been setting this up all season. And I say all season like it's been 18 episodes, but this isn't from out of the blue. They've been setting this up. We see Daemon grappling with a lot of this during these first two episodes. These last two episodes where he's been in Harrenhal. All of these hallucinations he's been having have been meant to inform the audience on his deepest and truest feelings and his regrets. And I think all the hallucinations he experiences are symptoms of doubts that he has over decisions that he's made, with, of course, the biggest being not pushing his own claim and kind of like allowing himself to step aside for Rhaenyra. And the show's been very clear and wanting us to think that Daemon intends on making his own claim. And the woman he's been seeing in Harrenhal, woman, witch, barn owl, whatever she is, she trolls him super hard about wanting to be king. Like, I love this quote.
It's a hard thing, I imagine, to give obeisance to one who replaced you as heir. And a woman too, a girl child you bounced on your knee. I mean, does it please you that her legitimacy is contested as you stand here with a castle and a dragon, attempting to draw an army of men?
I mean, that is trolling at its finest. And now that brings me back to Aegon. If Aegon does die, does this only further motivate Daemon to betray Rhaenyra as he'll now see another opening to make his claim? Not to mention the beef between him and Aemond that the show has been building up as well. If both decide to make claims for the throne if Aegon dies, that could push us ever closer to the fight that I think we've all been waiting on between Daemon and Aemond. So yeah, when I talk about historically on this channel, what good shows do versus what great shows do, this is what great shows do. They want to get us to a certain moment, so they lay the proper groundwork for us to get there in a way that makes sense and that can't be picked apart by assholes like me. And that's why everyone, I think, is raving about this episode and this show and this season. It's paying attention to the details, and it's laying the proper groundwork for big moments that make those moments work. They get the internet talking, and they keep your show in the mouths of viewers for the entire week in between episodes. Just excellent, excellent work on this show so far this season. Now, it isn't perfect. It wasn't all good. I am going to do a little bit of a compliment sandwich here and offer up some criticism before I close with another good thing. And I'm not forcing the criticism. I'd have said this anyway, but in the opening scenes, a Grand Maester brings Alicent some tea, and he warns her of the side effects, and he's like, let me know if the person that you're giving the tea to has an issue, this girl that you're giving the tea to. Alicent says she'll be sure to inform the girl who is getting the tea of all of these concerns, and she will let the Grand Maester know if this girl has any ill effects. Now, we already established the abortion tea in season 1. I know Alicent's been fucking Kristen Cole, and I know all the complications that bastard children add to the line of succession on this show or within this world. They even specify that the tea is for a girl. They don't just say, hey, this tea is for somebody. They say, like, I'll let the girl know, or whatever the case may be. So in that moment, before the Grand Maester has even left the room, I have already deduced that Alicent is lying about the tea being for another person, and that she has ordered herself some abortion tea. Like, I already know it's abortion tea because they established that in season 1. Well done, House of the Dragon. You laid the groundwork for me to understand that and to be able to put 2 and 2 together on my own. So I'm slightly miffed when they filled the frame with Alicent touching her stomach as she drank the tea. Like, damn, you did a good job laying the groundwork for me to piece this together on my own, but you still laid it out in a real obvious way anyway. It's like you doubted your own work. Like the audience still may not get it, so let's make it obvious. Like, either do the work and treat me like a smart viewer, or hold my hand like a moron. But don't waste your time doing the work to still treat me like a fucking moron and hold my hand and be like, see, it's the abortion tea. Like, I figured that out already. So yeah, like, anyone who's been around for a while, I got a lot of fucking videos. You know, I don't like being treated like a stupid viewer. That I'd already figured out, oh, Alice is getting abortion tea for herself. And then they just they made it very obvious and plain. I didn't like that. Lastly, this is a last good thing that I'm going to close with. Even though Alan, again, got very little screen time, the show did but all confirm his significance. And I liked how they did it. Pop quiz for you guys. Why did I like it? Because they didn't hold my hand and let me piece it together on my own like a smart viewer. Like, I like that they didn't do what they did with the Alicent T thing. Like, they let me read in between the lines. So the conversation between Rhaenys and Alan all but implies that Alan and presumably his brother, what's his name, Adam, are illegitimate sons of Corlys. I don't know where the show plans on going with this, particularly given that Rhaenys is now dead. That adds an interesting little piece to it as well. But it seems to me that Alan may be able to possibly step in to be the heir and eventual Lord of Driftmark. The real question is, once he's in charge, how will his actions affect the story, given that he has no ties or affection or whatever for any of the Targaryens? Like, he doesn't have any reason to have any kind of allegiance to Rhaenyra. Also, Laenor, Driftmark's actual true for real heir that everyone thinks is dead, is still alive out there somewhere. I'm going to keep reminding y'all of that because I know the show wants you to forget. Just like Game of Thrones wanted us to forget about Gendry and we didn't. We're not going to forget about Laenor. He's still alive out there somewhere. So this heir to Driftmark subplot could likely really pick up steam this season or in the next one. So let me know what you guys thought of this episode in the comments. Again, another great episode. I think they're 4 for 4 this season. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and until next week, peace.